Hey guys, back with another Equate Thoughts podcast here, episode number 113. It's been a while, a month since my last episode, 2 weeks since the patch, and sorry, haven't really been putting out too much content. It's just haven't really found the time. Work has been crazy, life has been crazy, and I've honestly, funny enough, I've been playing more than ever. So I'm going to talk about what I've been doing in the game that I've really been enjoying. But I also mainly want to talk about 2 weeks into post September rebalance, how I feel like with the 2 minute cooldowns changed, a lot more burst classes are being having a bigger burst. The iframe changes and how it's just affected bossing in general, the meta. And then we will get into the line counts, what kind of data I've gotten. Appreciate all the people that have been submitting their line counts. Still a few classes that I haven't gotten from, but for the most part, we have a good idea of where classes are for 15 seconds, 60 seconds, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. So we'll go through all of that a little bit and my thoughts on how it really plays out in actual bossing. All right, so first I want to talk about this event and what type of things I am taking advantage of. Okay, so first of all, this event, if you haven't done it, they gave us 2 free character slots, 2 burning characters. So I know it's a little late, but if you haven't done it, you definitely want to get 2 of these. This is free Legion 400, and you can, as you can see, if you have a main sort of lead warrior, you can take advantage of all these things, get 7 per day, and you can get a lot of EXP here, right? So like this, I got my Phantom to level 200 because I ended up using these Typhoon growth potions. You can get 2 of them. So that got me free 4 levels at the end. And then I have a Buccaneer that I want to level. Honestly, not the greatest choice as far as like mobbing. Very, very below average. But I was hoping at least if I made some sort of Lotus Leech character, an alt, or eventually get the Damien, Buccaneers would have like has one of the best burst in the game, so it would be easy for me to get kind of that 2% DPS check mark with kind of minimal gear. So that's kind of why I went with Buccaneer. I wanted to play it at 5th job as well because I feel like their skills are pretty cool, and Phantom obviously kind of a no-brainer as far as just getting another alt. So here is the event that you have to take advantage of, and then this 6th star as well. I'm really looking at this 100% Star Force. And for a lot of you guys may not know what to do with it. So I'm going to show what I've done with it, but there are a lot of great options to do, right? You can do it on your normal gear, right? But also you can make your own, what we call fodders, right? So I have been making a ton of chaos fodders here and using all my resources. So I've been really heavily investing into making my own fodders. And you can see right here, this is SF21. And basically, I assume it's SF22 with once I get the event, right? And I've been looking at the market for Star Force scrolls too. So you always want to look during Golden Apple. I think these are in Golden Apple right now, but I was looking at these right here. See, 20 Star Force, 70%, right? A ton of them still in quantity here, and it's literally cheaper than the 50% scrolls. And why I like this one, obviously the best bang for your buck, and I just like 70%. I just like to hit those, right? And so get those out of the way, and then I can start building them, throwing scrolls at them, throwing lucky scrolls at them, and hopefully get them up to 20, 21, 22, because even if I, eventually didn't want to, you can sell them right now is a good value, or I'm keeping for myself, but you can see a 21 Star Force is 40%. So every Star Force after is 5%. So it actually is pretty good as is, and if I get it up to SF23, it's even better for me. So that is what I'm doing with my resources right now. And in the game, I'm really trying to get as many Lotus and Damien characters as possible. Okay, so I ended up investing in a Necro weapon for my Phantom. And on this account, I even got a Necro Claw on this Night Lord. And so the reason why I wanted to do Necro is because for alts, crit rate is really, really hard to get. It's hard to get. So fair trade is just so OP. And this is obviously like high level, but this is what I'm doing in the game right now. I ended up hitting 2-set arcane. Finally, I think I was like 2 for like almost 30. So, and I got to 223 max damage cap. And so I was able to do some content, but nothing crazy. And then eventually I can, since I've been making my own fodders, it made it really, easier to get to SF to level 20. So that is where I'm at the game right now. I'm trying to minimize auto battle personally because I'm really deep in Legion right now. So I'm ranked 37, trying to get to 12k, and so I want to walk through really what I've been doing for on the daily basis Legion, because it's what I've been doing right now. So for Legion, right, the easiest thing to do is obviously get to level 200 on these burning characters. That's easy 400 levels. But then I've been going through pretty much every single alt because of the new changes that they made to legendary powders, right? So if you don't know, before, legendary powders were only available after level 175. But now that they made the changes, it's based on CP. So for example, like this alt right here, all my alts are obviously above 175, but they're all above here to 120 CP, 120k CP to get legendary powders. And so one of the things that I'm really kind of dabbling with, and I'm not really sure how far I'm going to take it, is trying to get more alts up to this 120, 1.25 mil CP, because these mythic powders here are huge. This jump right here is so worth it. And if you can obviously get as many above that CP, it's just going to help improve your resources a ton. So I'm really trying to focus on getting there, but at least doing elite dungeons, because all of these powders add up for me making my own fodders. Okay, so kind of trying to build my own army here, and I've been doing 4 out of 6 daily tasks. And I've gotten away from Dimension Invasion. It just takes too long. I've been doing Expedition instead for the 4 out of 6, and I've been sweeping. So pretty much every day, I've been sweeping every single one of my characters for the past week and kind of grinding it out. And since my Lin has got to level 250, I'm pretty good on here. I don't really care about leveling it too much. So I'm just trying to minimize not using free-to-play auto battle as much as possible. Okay, so I've been playing the game a ton. This is really a grind, but it's not too bad when I don't use Dimension Invasion. So whenever I have free time, I'm not like trying to invest heavily into auto battle during hot time. Sometimes I'll do hot time, sometimes I won't. That's just what I'm at right now, just playing the game, trying to get my resources up, trying to get as many elite dungeon powders and get obviously CDD alts as well, just to build this account. So you see here I have my Paladin, kind of lagging out here, my Lin, I have a Night Lord, and then I have a Phantom. 4 characters that I'm trying to get to at least to do Lotus clears and then eventually do Damien clears in order to just build this account up. Now that I've kind of talked about where I'm at this current, I specifically am at this current state of the game, I want to talk about the game in general, the rebalance, how Paladin got affected, how support classes got affected like Sia, how classes got 30-second cooldown kind of mini burst turned into huge 2-minute big burst, 2,000 plus line bursts like Phantoms, Wind Archers. For example, a lot of those classes went from being sustaining classes to just like everyone else, huge burst up front in short windows, and then a big dip over a 2-minute frame. So a lot of people, have been talking about lines, talking about damage, how they don't like it. I've always been on the side of give me the reward, the greater reward at the risk of with the greater risk, right? So what I mean, like by that is like if I miss my V3, right? If I miss time my big Grand Guardian, big burst, for example, the boss moves, the boss becomes, I die or I get knocked out of it or something happens where I don't get maximum lines out of it, I have to wait 2 minutes. And I kind of prefer that, right? It creates a sort of skill cap to the game that for a lot of classes, there wasn't a huge difference in damage from a skilled player and a good player and a great player. Because if, for example, like a Wind Archer, if I missed my Howling Gale before patch, I would just, like, if it went flying, it would be okay, right? Because in 30 seconds, I would have it back up again, and it would only be a few hundred missed lines, and it wouldn't significantly kill my damage. So, Wind Archers and Phantoms, for example, because I played those classes, it felt like you just kind of, everything lined up perfectly with DS4. And so you could just throw it out there off a cooldown and just blindly play the game. It was very easy. But now, if you miss a Luck of the Draw or you miss a Howling Gale, man, that is 2,000 lines plus that you are not getting back every 2 minutes. And some people don't like that, right? I get it. But for me, it's honestly, for one, your damage is actually, in most bossing fights, in all bossing contents, it is a line gain when you have more burst in a shorter window of every 2 minutes, right? Because think about this, Howling Gale or Luck of the Draw, Howling Gale, for example, previously was every 30 seconds, you would actually end up getting more lines pre-patch because it was every 30 seconds. But in order to get those lines, it would have to be up and hitting the boss for 10 seconds every 30 seconds. So in a 2-minute fight, let's say it would be 40 seconds in order to generate the, let's say, 2,500 lines that it was, right? But now you have to get those 2,500. You're going to get those 2,500 lines in 10 seconds. So 30 seconds less, which I honestly prefer, right? Because if it comes back up, say a fight is in Covert, for example, you're going to get an extra use out of that Howling Gale in the 3-minute fight, and it's going to be 2,500 lines. So in actuality, in a 3-minute fight, like in Covert, you're going to get 5,000 lines from this big burst skill, which previously you probably got like 3,000. Right? I think people are starting to figure that out, that it actually is a bigger reward. This is why like this is why like Paladins were so good. Demon Slayers were so, heavy burst classes, Wild Hunters, Mercedes, because they had such big burst up front and they're able to get it out and dish it out. And when you enter a boss and you're able to like use your big cooldown right at the end of the fight, your DPS spikes a ton, right? And you actually feel the impact of you actually see the HP bar move when you use your burst skills. And I personally, and I think a lot of people do as well, they enjoy this, right? They enjoy seeing the HP actually move when you use your skills properly. So that is, right, that's the change that people just have to get used to, okay? You cannot just throw it out, your skills out randomly off a cooldown like you could and not get punished. Now you're going to get heavily punished. So you have to understand the boss. You have to understand what skills are coming next. You have to understand your skill in general so that you can maximize your skills, pairing it with DS4, waiting for that. All of that takes more skill and more practice. And in the long run, once you master it, your DPS is going to skyrocket. Okay. So I think if you're having a trouble or you don't like it, just give it time. Understand the bosses, understand when to use it, and you're going to see huge DPS spikes in your damage overall. Kind of like how my Paladin, my Lin, a lot of my classes, my top classes right now are, which is what I really like. But then the other aspect of this rebalance was the support iFrame nerf or just rebalance in general, right? So like Paladins, obviously, a lot of people think that it's a nerf, and it was to Sacral. Okay, don't get me wrong. Sacral here is a nerf. This went from 90 seconds and 30-second duration to 90-second cooldown and 10-second duration. So we lost 10 seconds there. But we actually gained a few, impenetrable skin, for example, changed from a 60-second cooldown on a 3-second duration to now 10-second cooldown on 2-minute, 10-second duration of 22-minute cooldown. So, do the math however you want. It's a buff, it's a nerf, it's just a change. It's just a rebalance change, right? So it just forces you to change your gameplay a little bit. And I personally, people think that I hate it. I honestly don't really see that big of a difference, except for the fact that now you can't sit in Sacro for 30 seconds, which, all for it. It was OP. It was overpowered, and the fact that you could share it with someone else was just overtuned, right? So I'm totally okay with it. And I like the incorporation of Blitz Shield, 500k HP shield for 10 seconds. So this is a great skill that I like to use, honestly, in a lot of situations as well. Treat it like an iFrame, because 500k when maxed is a huge shield. Okay, it just is. I really, again, it just takes getting used to having it on your wheel. I mean, I get it. There's so many skills out there that you have to figure out. You may have to move skills around. But in a lot of bosses, I now take Blitz Shield off. I mean, you have to, because it's a 2-minute cooldown, and you have to use it wisely. And then the other downside here for Paladin specifically, but for just the game in general, is that solo res is now a 2-minute cooldown. It was a 60-second cooldown. So again, I wouldn't necessarily say it's as big of a nerf as people think it is. It's just you have to adjust your gameplay, and you have to use Blitz Shield. And just understand, like, Paladins were OP. Sacro was overpowered. So the fact that now they gave us a little bit more DPS, and they gave us, the toolkit has changed a bit. You just have to, again, get used to it. But I honestly, for me personally, I didn't really see much of a difference at all. And I honestly am already used to this playstyle, and I find it very satisfying, because I think in the game right now, what I like about a lot of games, I always try to reference back to games I previously played, team games, where if you overlap, you never want to overlap cooldowns, right? Defensive cooldowns especially, because in other games you would get punished severely, right? So if I was playing in World of Warcraft, for example, if me and a party member overlapped, or we just all used our cooldowns at once, then we kind of get stuck in a position where we needed it that we don't have anything, and then it may cause us to play more defensive. It may cause people to die. It may affect a lot of things overall, right? So I think that the game right now is more punishing. Yes, absolutely, because of the long cooldowns. Say like Sia, Hourglass, their party iframe, their hat, and their skills are longer, right? You can't use them as much, and so it's really important for there to be communication in the team, coordination, right? So if you watched my Lin video of Vihila, it was me and Warrens on the Sia and the Lin, and we were constantly in communication of what skills to use to counter skulls, to counter green attacks, to counter purple. We didn't want to overlap, because if we overlapped, it really was punishing. It was really hard to overcome, as far as just handling all of the skills that Vihila was throwing at us. Okay, so we tried to make sure that we rotated through our cooldowns defensively, we didn't overlap, and it made for a really, really smooth, great run. So I think that is where the game is at right now, which I think sucks a little bit, but it makes for it's more rewarding again when you actually coordinate right, when there's great synergy, when there is communication, and when you mess up, man, it's big, right? It is there's not much wiggle room as there used to be, especially with single res being 2-minute cooldown, especially with time leap now being 5 minutes. A lot of things have changed, and so I get that there is frustration, but the game is still definitely playable. Bosses are still clearable. It just takes changing it up a little bit. Just take a little bit more adjustments as a team and individually, so that you can clear the bosses, right? And I really, really enjoy this gameplay. I think that support-wise, Lin, Lin may be the best support class in the game because their cooldowns didn't get affected. I still think Sia is very good. Sia and Lin, kind of interchangeable. Bishops, Paladins, Phantoms feel like a tier below to me. Hourglass is still not Hourglass, Heaven's Door is still very, very strong for Bishops. Benediction is a good skill as well, and Shell. But party iframes are so, like, if you know how to use your party iframes, those things are insane. Honestly, like battle mages too, with their bubble and their shield, I think it's on a 10-second, I think it's a 90-second cooldown and a 10-second party iframe. So it is, battle mages have a very good support skill, and I think overall it just allows people to play these different classes and have, like, you don't have to have a Sia now. You don't always have to have like a Paladin now, because those support skills aren't as great as they used to be. They aren't, so like even like a battle mage, like having one Lin and one Sia is huge. Or having two of them is great, but you don't necessarily have to have one or the other in order to, because they're not as overpowered as they used to be. So I'm curious what you guys think on this. I understand that like it's I'm probably in the minority about this, but I really had a lot of fun playing Lin and Vihila, and a lot more fun than I did. Paladin just feels like a DPS now. Paladin just feels like a DPS class that has, a few support skills here and there. Necessary, but not needed. Lin feels like a real true support class. And I haven't even dabbled with like the focus targets, the focus skills that much for the aggro. So there is still a lot of untapped potential with Lins that I'm really, really enjoying. That's pretty cool in the current meta. All right, so the last thing I wanted to talk about is line counts, DPS in the current meta. Okay, so I created this new spreadsheet, I guess, where I just gather as much data as possible post-patch. So shout out to all these people. Got to give credit where credit is due. All of these people down over here gave their input, gave their line count. So I appreciate them for doing that. And then I have all of the line counts here. So I'm going to post this into my Discord. So if you want to get this line count, join the Discord. I'll post a link in the description below. But then you guys will be able to see this, right? This is not just keeping for myself, but if you see there are a few classes down here that I'm still missing. So if you know anyone that plays this class, shout out, have them send this info to me. I'm looking for 15 seconds, kind of the DS4 window of burst, 60 seconds, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Okay. In fog training, just stand there, get your line counts. So yes, I get disclaimer. Lines are not adjusted to account for clone classes. Paladin line does not include bonded echo lines in post-patch column. So, right, everyone's first thing is looking at lines. Lines are very misleading. Okay, so we'll look at whatever you want to look at. 3 minutes here. You'll see Nightwalkers. You'll see, look at all these thieves. Thieves are what? 6 of the top 8 line counts over 3 minutes. And you can see that some of these classes have an insane line count, right? Nightwalkers got a disgusting amount of lines. Shadowers, Dual Blades, Nightlords, all these classes, keep in mind they have clones, right? So majority of these lines are hitting 70% even or less. So keep that in mind. But sneaky good Blaster, sneaky good Hayato, well, not sneaky good, but kind of underused Hayato Demon Slayers are all up there in 3 minutes lines. And then you can just adjust this as it is. So take a look in the Discord. You can see who has the best 15-second burst here. And I get it, 15 seconds may not, may benefit some classes more than others. I get it. But I just wanted to create a sort of baseline of DS4, right? So Buccaneers, my gosh, 6,000 lines in 15 seconds is insane. Look at how much damage they do in this 15 seconds compared to like the rest of their fight. It's a lot. No surprise if you ran with the Buccaneer before, it is really hard to out DPS their burst. And then Lin, sneaky up there, man. Lin's got a huge buff to their burst, so they are burst heavy. One of the best bursts in the game, in my opinion. And they ain't just a support right now. They're actually doing pretty good damage. So take a look at this. My takeaway, right, is one. How I gauge this and look at this is maybe different than other people, but I actually like to do the combination of what I find is the best classes is a combination of sort of who has the best upfront burst in the 15-second window, kind of combined with this, 2-minute, 3-minute, whatever you want to scale it by. But I put a pretty big emphasis on this burst window because, like I said, if it's majority of fights nowadays, you'll find that they tend to be like heavily, if you can get this extra burst in, if it's a 2.5-minute fight, if it's a 4.5-minute fight, 6.5-minute fight, right? Like even like a 8:30 fight. These classes, if they can get their burst up at the last second, are going to get huge spikes in DPS and are going to jump up the charts. And that was the sort of issue pre-patch, where classes that you thought had a good line count, but were sustainable classes, didn't really perform as well as you thought based on the numbers. But in real bossing, because like for example, paladins are one of the worst classes line count wise. Okay. So look at paladins all the way down here. Paladins are ranked 28th, 27th. Yeah. In line counts. Okay. So they're at 15,000. And then even in 3-minute fights, they move up to 13 or 12, right? So they get a decent boost because of their burst, their upfront burst. If you can get this all off, save your cooldowns, things like that, you actually get a big burst. They also have the buff from bonded lines, but you'll see here that like some of these classes right here, no surprise, are very good. Right? If you just looked at the burst, some of these classes are very strong. In comparison to these ones at the bottom, you'll see like Shade, Ho Young, Blast, Bowmaster, Aran, Fire Poison Mages. I wouldn't say they are what you would call like the cream of the crop, right? I would say, if anything, you would expect if you funded the same way across the board, that most of these classes up here, even the 15, like are stronger. And so it is crazy to see how many classes there are right now, but do what you want with this data. Again, it is just data. If I were to pick sort of my top 5 DPSs right now, based on what I've seen in games and what I've seen based on the numbers, is Wild Hunter absolutely is the new, kind of new Mercedes, but they are the new cream of the crop in my opinion. Like if I'm looking at Vihila, because of their ability to attack on the move, a lot of these lines are insane. I think they're all cap lines too. There's no clones. Maybe the Jaguars are, but yeah, they get a lot of damage. And Bobo right now is absolutely crushing everybody for us. Shadowers, I think, are definitely up there. I haven't found anyone that has like, I think Shadowers are just very good. Whether you flip-flop Nightwalker, Shadower, Dual Blades, pick your poison. Well, but I think just straight raw damage, I think Shadowers might take the cake, especially like in things like Covert. But I would say this is sort of my top 5. Nightwalker, Wild Hunter, Shadower, Blaster, Dual Blade. No shock, the top 5 in 3-minute line counts. If I went to 2-minute line counts, Hayatos would be up there. Wild Hunters would fall down slightly. Blasters would fall, but yeah, Hayatos would jump in there in 2-minute fights. Okay, but Hayatos, I don't think have as great 1-minute burst. Yeah, I mean they're still like top 10, top 11, but just in comparison, it feels like they may drop off slightly. So The moral of the story is like the difference between however you line it up. Okay, 2 minutes, 3 minutes burst. These numbers are so close. So like you may like so close. 17,000 versus 16,000 lines. That is in a real fight, that is marginal. Right? In a long fight, that is marginal. Now, rarely ever, if you ever check, do you do 100% lines? Because obviously, fog training is a lot different than real bossing with the movements and stuff. But I think if you want to choose a main, like or what classes are very strong, Thief Story is the way to go. Like you can't go wrong with a Thief right now. Nightwalker's got an extra iframe. Shadowers, I don't think got an extra iframe. Nightlord's got an extra iframe, and their barrage got changed too. So Nightlord's burst is actually pretty strong and pretty good. But I'm a big fan of any of these thieves. Maybe not Ho Young. Ho Young is kind of an outlier. I don't think Ho Young is as good as the number say because look at this burst window right here. Not that great. They have high lines, but not that great. And then I still think like any of these classes too, even in the top 15 are playable. Very strong. I've seen Kana's top the charts, Arrows, Paladins top the charts, Demon Slayers, Hayatos, all of them are all very good. So the meta hasn't really changed too much, right? Thief Story is the way it's been. Warriors have always been sort of 1A, 1B. And I think with the support changes for Paladins, and I think with some of these like Demon Slayer's got another iframe. So it's all of these, there's so many good classes. It really comes down to funding and your ability to maximize your lines and your damage and play your class and play it to the best of its potential. So I think the game is in a great place right now. They balanced a lot of things where mages kind of have their own iframe as well with ethereal form. And I really am excited to see where my paladin goes, where my Lin goes. Personally, I want to see more content. We have like 2-3 set arcane wild hunters, and a Nightwalker, and so it's cool to see them kind of battle it out. And then just a lot of underrated classes. Wind archers, I think, are sneaky better than they look here line wise. Lumi's got a pretty good buff too. So yeah, I'll share this with you guys in Discord. Hope you guys, if you can find more data on these classes, that'd be great. And yeah, I'm curious what you guys think about this. Which classes you think got a big buff, or which classes you found that are really OP right now. Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.